Okay, y'all. I'm hiding in my bathroom because it's the only way I can have a decent conversation. Like, I be wanting to go live, but the way my house is set up with 5 kids, it's a no for me. So, I wanted to get on here real quick and talk about the faith of a mother. So, I don't know what type of mother you had growing up or what type of mother you are now, what type of mother you're married to, but listen, I say this out of experience from two different perspectives as a daughter and a mother. What your child will be able to do, what they can accomplish, all begins with the mother's faith. I never knew that medically I wasn't supposed to be able to have children until I started having kids, right? Now, my mom knew that probably since I started my cycle at 12. I was on hormone pills as a child, just trying to regulate my cycle and my bleeding and the pain. I over ovulated. I had a lot going on. Now as an adult, I understand it really wasn't that deep. It was just not knowing what to do, right? And so doing things that were working against my body. But my mom learned, I think she told me by the time I was 13 or 14, they had pretty much told her, because I had an autoimmune situation. They never knew what it was. Nobody had a name for it. Of course, in 2021, I now know that it is rare and that less than 3% of people in the world have it. I have type 3 hereditary angioedema and cold urticaria. They're not connected, but they work together against me, if that makes sense. Well, anyway, that's another post. But my mom knew way before I left for college that I would never be able to have kids according to medical science. And my mom chose not to believe that. And my mom is what I consider a medicine woman. She's always been into herbs. My parents have always grown. I now know as an adult that my mom was like, girl, I don't have a green thumb. That was your daddy. I just reap the benefits. Now, my mom can keep up like basic plants as long as they're not high maintenance. I also didn't know that because she has grown plants my whole life. But my mom did a lot of herbs. One of my elders is a medicine man. And so, like, a medicine man. And so all of my life, I've had access to natural herbs and holistic and alternative medicine. And that is what my mom used to keep me alive the first 16 years of my life. And it wasn't until I gave birth to baby number 5 that I had a really hard labor. I had postpartum hemorrhaging for the first time. And postpartum hemorrhaging, if you don't know, it's not like what you see on the movies in third world countries. Now, it may be like that in third world countries, but here in the USA, it's a whole nother ball game. The things that they have to take your body through, I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, okay? It was a lot. It was heavy, and the recovery physically for me was a lot rougher than any other pregnancy I had. Of course, because, 35 children. I'm going to say they're decently spread apart, even though that's not really true. The wear and tear on my body was a lot. So when the doctor told us that, you can't have any more children, I was like, yeah, we weren't trying to have past 4. We only planned and prepared to have 4 children. This last baby don't know where he came from. So what started out with him being a medical miracle, because my body runs like clockwork, and for the first time at that time 28 years, for the first time in 28 years, my body ovulated twice in the same month. Yeah, that ain't how I do. My body don't work that way. So it was considered a medical miracle that he came about, because my body had to do something that was considered to be abnormal for me for him to pop up, right? Totally fine. Until they tell me, it wouldn't be safe for you to have another baby. And I was like, we're still on the same page, because I'm not trying to have any more kids. And he asked me, he said, did you know that people with hereditary angioedema normally cannot carry a successful pregnancy? And if they can, the pregnancy is very hard and they're mostly in the hospital. Like it's not always successful, and it's something they normally never have multiple children. And I'm being funny and kind of keeping it light, and I'm like, well, I'm the exception to a lot of rules, so I'm not surprised. But then I get home and I'm researching on women with hereditary angioedema, how rough it is on them when they're on their cycle, giving birth, being pregnant, and I'm floored. And so I called my mom and I asked my mom if she knew that according to medical science, I was not supposed to be able to have children. And she was like, yeah, they told me that when you was about 13, 14. She said, but I didn't receive that because they don't have the last say so. You decide what your body is going to do. She was like, they don't know what your body is capable of. They rarely know much about a woman's body, period. Especially women of color. And I was like, that's real. She said, if I had told you that, you would have believed it and you would have treated yourself as if you couldn't have children. You can have children because first, Yahweh said you can. And second, because you can do whatever you put your mind to. And she said, because I didn't make you believe that, it was possible. Y'all, that floored me. And I said, so why did you never tell me when I became an adult? She was like, because you, all your life, you said you never wanted to have kids, so it wasn't an issue. And I was like, I can see that. And I was like, I wasn't upset that I didn't know. I was actually grateful because I would have gone into every pregnancy afraid and scared. I would have gone into every pregnancy expecting a death sentence for my unborn child. One day I'll share with you all the different stories about every different pregnancy, because I'm not going to lie to you, it was crazy. Most of my sons, actually my daughters were easy breezy, but most of my sons, according to medical science, at one point or another, almost didn't come into this world. But that's another post for another day. I just want to just talk about faith. Faith. We know that faith is something that we can't see, but we know and trust, we believe, whether it's intuitively, whether it's in your heart, whether it's because the Bible says so, whether it's because you know that a higher power or your source of power has you covered. You can't see it, but you believe it and you know it because the evidence is all around you. And a lot of that is because the person who gave birth to you or the person who raised you had faith that you would make it to where you are right now. And Yahweh didn't make no mistake when you were placed with your parents, whether it was your birth parents, adopted, someone who found you later in life and loved on you like the mother that you always needed. This was me sharing my story about the faith of a mother. And because I believe that my kids can do whatever, whenever, because Yahweh said so. I just wanted to share that with y'all. I love y'all.